I mean, as an entrepreneur, like you have to be a bit crazy and very optimistic, but not delusional. So I think getting still with yourself of like, what does that optimism look like? Um, and how does that look realistic 6 months from now? And how do you start to show up every day as if like that's already happening? Again, you're going to tap into an energy where the world's going to start to morph around that for you.
They say it's lonely at the top. They're right. But you don't have to scale your company alone. Welcome to the Scaling CEO. I'm Glenn Gow, the CEO Success Coach. On this podcast, I sit down with top performing CEOs to uncover the hidden patterns and frameworks behind their success so you can avoid common pitfalls and accelerate your company's growth. Now, on to the show. My guest today is Fran Brzyski, the co-founder and CEO of Hark. Fran is on a mission to solve a problem that plagues almost every scaling company, understanding what your customers really mean. His company, Hark, is built on the premise of stories, not surveys. Think about it. How often do you get a static NPS score or a flat survey result and have no idea why the customer gave that result? Hark is a feedback intelligence platform that captures the real feedback, the unstructured video, audio, and open text stories, and then uses next gen AI to transform all that messy human data into clear customer narratives. It's a tool for scaling empathy. But Fran isn't just scaling a company, he's scaled himself. He navigated a path from high stakes sales and medical devices at Stryker and Tech to become a founder backed by top tier VCs like Lightbank and M13. Fran, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. That was a great introduction. Well done.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Let's talk about your mission, stories, not surveys. So why are so many scaling companies still blind to this, clinging to the metrics that, as your team has said, strip away the emotion and real world context?
Yeah, I think it goes back to human behavior. I mean, my co-founder and I realized this really ironic gap in the market where humans are sharing stories on Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and they're very comfortable with that all the time. Complete strangers are getting a lens into their life. And we kept seeing these surveys come through. We value your feedback. Would you take 5 minutes? Or, hey, reach out to support. We're here for you, but fill out a form. It just felt so impersonal. And in a world where human behavior is changing in terms of how people project and communicate, also how they feel, like they want to be heard. There's more human beings in the world than ever before. And your voice can be propelled more than ever before. And in turn, you want to be heard. So we started the company to say, could we change the behavior? And if we did, video, audio, open text, what would that provide to our customers? And luckily, it worked really well. On the support side, it drove a lot of efficiency versus all that unnecessary back and forth. Um, but more interestingly, toward growth, Hark became like a verb. And these customer experience leaders, insights leaders started sharing it with the board and with leadership. And what we find is leaders really love to get like an anecdote over a data point. And
Uh,
it becomes really interesting through Hark, where you can share a story that doesn't fall down through plain text. You hear that from the customer's voice, their words, their mannerisms, their sentiment. It changes everything. So you can interpret a lot more and you get more clarity.
I so believe in that. When I talk to CEOs about leadership, I say, look, if you're trying to get a point across, the way you're going to do this in a memorable way is you tell stories.
Yeah,
And if you're trying to get a point across about here's what's happening in our customer base in a board meeting, it's the stories that they're going to remember.
absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about scaling as a CEO. You went from a top tier sales rep to a CEO. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to a CEO who's struggling to scale themselves from a doer to a leader?
That's a fantastic question. When you are, I mean, everyone's got their superpowers, right? Like if you do a strengths finder exercise through Gallup, you are able to see not only what you're good at, but what you really enjoy and love doing. Uh, Very early on, I had gotten advice to do a strengths finder, but have my team also do it and start to put the pieces together of like, where do I love to spend my time? Where does my operations person love to spend their time, et cetera? And when you figure that out, you can feel really good about offloading things you don't like to do because someone else loves to do them. And I used to struggle with that. I would think as a CEO, I need to be doing, these administrative tasks, which just really brought my energy down. And since we went through that exercise and we figured out a system to offboard those things so I can focus on what I love doing and what I'm good at, it helps me come to work every day with more energy, but also scale myself a bit more, so I can focus on being in front of customers, being in front of the sales team, working with marketing, strategizing, and visioning a new product and a new world.
That's so critical. Many times, I love the fact that you talked about energy. Many times CEOs come in, went to a conversation with me pretty down or overwhelmed. And so we talk about where do you get your energy and how do you structure the organization exactly the way you did so that you can spend time in the areas where you get energy and you add value, but you have a team that can handle everything else that might drag you down or take away your energy. So I love that answer. So let's talk about you've scaled from finance and med tech sales to now a VC backed founder. So what's the one scaling insight you learned the hard way that if you knew it earlier would have saved you the most time and pain?
Scaling the hard way.
Well, the insight, right? That you
Yeah, I think it goes
that
back
it was hard
from,
for you to.
I'm a big believer in having faith in yourself. I'm lucky that my parents, when I told them I was leaving JP Morgan to go take a pay cut and join a startup, um, they didn't tell me I was crazy. They said, great. Like, I'm happy that you believe in yourself and you feel like this is the right thing to do. Um, I think when you tap into that energy, the world starts to open doors for you, and you can start to like kind of like manifest and find opportunities when you're doing what you're kind of called for. And everybody has that feeling inside of them. So I know that takes a little bit of risk, but not being afraid to trust your gut and your judgment and go where you're being called to. It sounds simple, but it's a bit difficult. The insight towards scaling, going from startups on the go-to-market side over to Hark, I think there's like a really fine balance of always testing and testing and testing new things versus taking a shot, right? So when you come in and like we're taking a big swing, we're innovating an entire industry. We're not just saying, oh, we do X cheaper or X faster. You have to test and you have to bring people along. And at first, that's kind of like pushing a boulder up the hill. But then you might test so much that your product's not easy enough to use where you'll ever feel that pull, right? So you have to be really intrinsically aligned with your customers to understand where are we feeling pull and when do we want to double down on that? How do we double down on that? Not only is that going to help customers use your platform more, but it's going to make your team internally feel a bit more aligned, which is the most important thing. Like true alignment and clarity are paramount toward you being successful. So if you can tap into that, understand what's working, how do we show up, how do we talk about this, what's our value add, everybody gets aligned, and then they're not questioning the roadmap and they're not questioning what comes next. Um, they're really doubling down on that. So it can be uncomfortable because you're saying we're going to take a swing and divert a lot of resources to this. But if you feel strongly about it and there's enough data there and you hear it enough from your customers and you're in tune with them enough, you should feel really confident. And that's how you can go from like a starting out, we're new, we're trying things to, hey, like this is exactly what we do. And you would use us over a competitor for these reasons.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you can be overwhelmed with input from the team, but eventually you have to make a call and say, this is the
Mhm.
direction we're going to go, and here's why. Now, let's talk about the CEOs that are listening to this podcast, and they're drowning in feedback right now. They have product reviews and support tickets and sales calls. They have the data, but no story. How does your platform move them beyond just benchmarking and actually help them spark action and scale decisions faster?
Yeah. So our platform will take in all of, like you said, the unstructured data, um, through multiple data. So like it can be through surveys post purchase. People move off of legacy survey tools over to us. It could be through support. It could be through customer satisfaction scores. Like anywhere in the customer journey, you want the customer to feel heard and that you think there might be a story, we will show up. And I think it's a lot of how you ask these questions, right? So with Hark, you can do a video out to your customers and say, I'm the CEO and I'm working on building this new thing. And here are the three things that I really need to know going forward. And you can send that to a certain cohort, right? It takes a little bit of work, but when you do it well, they're going to understand there's somebody on the other side analyzing this feedback who really cares. And you can close a loop better, but you can also build brand loyalty in that sense. Um, our platform really comes to life here because no one can go through hundreds of videos or audios and listen to each one. It becomes time intensive. We do the entity extraction from the transcripts and what's being said. We analyze what's happening in the videos to give you a whole new qualitative layer. And then we synthesize that data with other sources like where people order from, where reviews come from, how they're using the platform. Like we put all this together and normalize it so you can understand here's what people are saying, but here's the impact. Hey, it's impacting new customers versus returning customers. Returning customers keep asking these same questions. You might want to get in front of that. So it's I guess using like a ton of customer stories to create one grand story, and then you can start to dig in our platform through that and ask it a bunch of more questions and get more clarity.
That's excellent. So here's a fun question for you.
Sure.
So I've seen that you've mentioned you're a fan of romantic comedies and alternative rock. So does that make you a walking 90s movie soundtrack? And 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 second, what's a better leadership lesson for a scaling CEO, the blind optimism of a rom-com or the raw angst of alternative rock?
I need to learn where you do your research. That's incredible. Yes, in fact, in the gym this morning, coming from being from Philly, I was listening to the Rocky movie soundtrack, Rocky 4. That's hilarious. I think the optimism, I think it's hard, right? Like every day is different and you come in and you're hit with different things and conversations go ways you didn't expect them to. And I think anxiety comes from a distortion of reality versus what you expect that reality to be. The more you can get still and comfortable with yourself and understand the signals of like how you're growing, how you've been here before, how you could react a little bit differently and continue to compound and grow, uh, and be in the mindset that you're already 6 months ahead of time, right? Like when I started Hark, it was a big jump, right? It was, I'm going to go from leading a small sales team to leading a company to taking millions of dollars from investors, reporting back to them. And I had to grow tremendously through myself. And that took a lot of hard work. That took a lot of saying no to things I used to do. I haven't picked up a golf club in a long time because I've got my family, I've got Hark, and I use time to do meditation and like my own spirituality journey. And that makes me show up, but also get better clarity for myself internally. So, um, I mean, as an entrepreneur, like you have to be a bit crazy and very optimistic, but not delusional. So I think getting still with yourself of like, what does that optimism look like? Um, and how does that look realistic 6 months from now? And how do you start to show up every day as if like that's already happening? Again, you're going to tap into an energy where the world's going to start to morph around that for you.
That's really fantastic. And I love the discussion about choosing what's most important to you and making sure you spend time on that. I love that you do meditate. It's something that I advise all my CEOs to some extent to do some form of meditation because it's such a pressure filled job, and meditation is a very powerful way to center yourself and be okay with whatever's going to happen that day or in that next meeting. So good for you. That's wonderful. Now, in our last topic, we're going to talk about AI, and I have different elements of my question. One is if you could talk about how you're using AI operationally inside the company, and then secondly, if you could talk about how you're using AI inside the product itself.
Yeah. We're learning as a company, very, very transparently. We are testing new tools. We're iterating. We have different Slack channels for AI education that aren't just sales related, aren't just marketing related. It's for the whole company. And a lot of that comes from our engineering team to teach and explain things to us. Early in my career, like I probably would have said, I'm not going to submit a Jira ticket or I'm not going to, submit a ticket to Linear. Um, that should be everybody, right? Like we should be influencing the product. We should be using AI. Like I use it a lot for emails to speak with. We do like a lunch and learn we started where somebody will pick a topic where AI has unlocked a ton of efficiency for them or creativity for them, and they'll explain to the rest of their company. So it's moving so fast. You have to be continuously at the forefront of it and learning. Found that to be a huge discussion point with not only my peers, like other founders. Hey, what are you doing for go to market? How are you using AI to automate X, Y, and Z, but still sound human? But even investors, like a board member who said, "Hey, this company is growing really fast. Here's how they use AI internally to help." I think the last piece is we use a tool called Roam, which helps us like in a distributed workforce come together in a virtual office in a way that's very interesting. Where like your meetings go from 30-minute blocks down to like, hey, just hop in my office even if virtually, we like chat real quick and go through it. It helps keep that human connection. In the product, a multitude of ways. I mean, people talk about like agentic AI. I think it's much more like intelligence, right? Like if you're, for what we do, you need agents all over the place to be doing different jobs and come together. Um, what I've learned holistically is in order for the AI to do a really, really good job, the foundation is everything, right? So if you're a customer service leader and you're implementing AI, your help desk articles, like all the non-sexy stuff has to be exactly how you want to show up. Like all the foundational things, same thing with our product. Like we have to do all those foundational things so we can bring on AI and enhance it and continue to get better and push ourselves in that way. So I know I'm not answering your question directly on the AI front, but a multitude of ways we have different uses for how we analyze surveys versus how we bring data together versus how we proactively provide alerts that are like contextual and personalized and things like that. And how the platform continuously dynamically moves based on who's in it. So a bunch of ways. It's fascinating how fast things are moving.
I was guessing that you could, because you're collecting data from so many different customer interactions across the board from multiple clients, that AI can still help you begin to analyze patterns or terminology or the way people speak to read a little bit deeper into what people really mean. Am I right about that?
Of course. But then you could take it further because you have to display that back in the terms of which the company communicates, right? So if we can be in the workflows and I know how Glenn communicates with his customers and vice versa, I can start to show trends, but in ways that you would describe those trends, right? It's no longer saying like we'll auto tag your tickets or we'll come out of a survey and we'll give you like high level synopsis based on our buckets or clusters that the AI provides. It's like, how do we morph into your business and become a living, breathing organism that's constantly learning?
So last question around this, and I love the fact that you're really leveraging AI. Is how do you provide proof of value, so to speak, to a client? Right. So I can understand your value proposition, but how do you get them over the hump of saying, well, wow, a survey's inexpensive to do. NPS scores are everybody knows how to do that. So why go this extra level?
We help you do three things. We help you grow, mitigate risk, and or be more efficient. We are very firm believers of gaining trust with our customers. I think with so many solutions out there today, the idea of like putting you into a 12-month contract based off of a slide deck is insane. Customers have gotten burned way too many times. I've gotten burned as a software customer purchasing software. I think the best companies are saying, here's some like really easy to stand up scopes. Let's try it. Let's earn your trust a little bit. And then we can expand if there's mutual agreement and there's trust.
Oh, I love that.
When you do that well, then people are going into these agreements with like eyes wide open. They're excited to sign them. They're not signing them and saying, I hope this works. So we have a few different ways. And I think we're launching, I know we're launching areas of the product that can be self-serve, like a product-led, not growth, but product-led sales approach where it's try Hark. Our sales team can come in and consult and say, do you know you could use it here, there, and there? But it's like, how do we give them a little bit so that they organically want more? And then it becomes an easy discussion. Like, oh, you're using Hark here? You're using that tool? Great. Get rid of that cost. Use Hark and you're going to get even more value out of it.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Well, Fran, we're out of time. So tell the audience how they can reach you.
I am very active on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/fbrzyski. Email Fran@sendhark. However you like. I'm sure you can find me. That data's everywhere now, right?
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Scaling CEO. If you found this valuable, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a fellow CEO who could benefit. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please give us a quick rating as it really helps more people find the show. I'm Glenn Gao, the CEO Success Coach. See you next time for more proven strategies to grow your business and leadership.